Today, March 3rd, 2020, marks the first time in my life that I am actively participating in American democracy by voting. Now, it is definitely a little bit late, so how about I just. Whoa. Okay. Well, to give a little bit of context, I registered in the state of California as a no party preference person and requested a Democratic crossover ballot at the polling station. The first thing that I found out that would have been helpful is that I could have voted days in advance, and this isn't even talking about necessarily mailing in my ballot, but just going to the voting stations earlier. Like, I didn't know that that was a thing. It would have been helpful. It didn't really take me too long. The lines for me, fortunately, I think I waited maybe 30, 40 minutes at most. But I know that there are a lot of people in the area who were not as fortunate as I was. Now, another issue that I quickly ran into was the fact that I had pretty much no information on any of the other issues and candidates that were on the ballot that I was being asked to vote on. Um, Besides the Democratic presidential candidate, which I am very, very involved in politics regarding that, and the two propositions, which were simple enough. Like, they were just, we're raising taxes for public works, stuff like that. So very simple. But beyond that, there were many, many smaller governmental positions that I really didn't have too much information on. And the bad part was that by the time that I reached the inside of the polling stations, um, all the guides were pretty much gone. And I asked for a digital link to anything, but there just wasn't any. Like, they were just like, sorry, we don't have any. And that's one of the things that sort of frustrated me because I ended up doing something that I feel like a lot of people did do that day, and something that may not necessarily be the best for a democracy, and that is just like, ooh, look, that guy has a cool position. So, yeah, I pretty much just voted based on the prior titles they had, and nothing related to their merits, whether they deserved to be in that position or not, because I just simply didn't have that information. And that's one of the things that I feel like is important to a democracy. You need to have information on who is the best to run the country or the government from that position in order to really have it functioning properly. Now, that's pretty much the only thing that I had in regards to an issue. And other than that, I it was a very smooth experience. I felt oddly patriotic about the whole thing. Like, even from the perspective of someone who's never voted before, it felt oddly like sending a letter to the government telling them like, "Hey, you not screw up this time," but I mean, they will. They'll find a way to screw it up, you know? But to give a little bit more of my opinions on what's going on, as some of you guys may have seen from my Twitter name and twitter.com/MacandSwiss, if you haven't followed already, for the Democratic presidential nominee, I voted for Bernie Sanders. And while at this point I don't think he'll actually end up securing that spot, although it's still very, very early and the tide can definitely turn, just because a candidate has effectively lost Super Tuesday does not necessarily mean that they're out of the race. I hope that whoever does take that position will really challenge Trump in November. My predictions for 2020 so far is that Biden will secure the nomination and then Trump will win a second term. For me personally, I don't believe that a political moderate in this current climate can necessarily beat out a populist uh, person that leans further on the right, such as Donald Trump. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'd be happy to see that, but under what I know and what I see so far, I don't think that's gonna happen if it comes down to a political moderate like Joe Biden and a further right populist like Donald Trump. But those are just some of my thoughts on Super Tuesday and the race for the White House so far. Did you vote on Super Tuesday, or do you have any thoughts on some of the candidates, or maybe what's been going on around the country in general politically? let me know down in the comments. And as always, my name is Mac and Swiss, the most Asian brony on the internet, and I'll see you all next time.